Morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We are on day 3 of Pathfinder Academy, and just excited to have you guys here this morning. So I'll go ahead and let Dr. Lettingham introduce the speakers for this morning. Again, we put the link in the chat, and if you have any questions, let us know.
Okay, right. Good morning. Hopefully my internet's okay. It's going in and out. This morning we've got a great session with our School of Social Work. We have our interim dean, Dr. John Gonzalez, and two of our
Dr. Lettingham, I don't know
program,
but you're sounding a little bit like a robot.
They serve multiple roles. Noelia and Sandra, who will give us a great overview of my internet's down. I'm going to let John take the show.
Okay. Gonzalez, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. John Gonzalez. I'm the dean of the School of Social Work. I work for Sandra Stark and Noelia Alonso, who will be presenting most of this. But I do what they tell me to do this. So they said to show up this morning to say good morning, but to also be around to help with answering questions. So I'll introduce Sandra Stark and Noelia Alonso.
Hi, all.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Hi.
My name is Sandra Stark. I am the Title IV for the School of Social Work, but like Dr. Gonzalez says, we do have a lot of events, and, we pair up. I pair up with Noelia, and we kind of tackle all these events. But we're here to answer any of your questions or concerns or anything that you would want to know about our program. Noelia?
Hi, good morning. My name is Noelia Alonso, and I'm a lecturer at School of Social Work, of course. I'm very excited to be here this morning. I hope, many of you had some time to review the videos that we put together in reference to about what the program is about. And a little bit about myself. I grew up in a colonia, so I'm kind of very familiar with a lot of the struggles that we go through, in poverty. That's one of my, reasons for looking into social work and one of my passions for social work. So I'm also very excited to be here with you this morning and to answer any questions that you all may have. Thank you.
Social work team, this is Esme with the School of Medicine. What we've been doing these past couple of days is we asked the presenting team to give a little overview of your department, and then we can take off with the Region 1 school members' questions, if that's okay. And maybe explain a little bit about, like, for instance, Sandra, your Title IV coordinator position, like, what does that mean?
Sure.
And we could just take it from there. Dr. Lettingham had to restart his computer, so I'll be helping if there's any moderating that needs to happen.
Definitely. The Title IV program, it is a contract between the university and Child Protective Services. This program is only provided for students in social work, whether it be the bachelor's level or master's level. And what it does, it offers the student not only a stipend of $3,000, but it also allows the student to work in the child welfare area. There are certain courses that the student has to take focusing on child abuse and neglect. And I do teach some of those courses as well to prepare or help prepare our students. The social work, the Title IV program, it is offered to the bachelor's level, and the student has to be in the program in the School of Social Work. This program not only allows the student to participate in the Title IV, but once they graduate and practice in child welfare, after a year, they can come back and CPS can actually pay their master's program until they graduate. So there's no limit of stipends as an employee of CPS. For the bachelor's level, a student can only receive the stipend the last 2 semesters before they graduate, but it will have give them the ability to work with Child Protective Services upon graduation. We do require a 2.7 GPA in the bachelor's level and a 3.0 in the master's level. These programs, whether it be bachelor's or master's, there are stipulations that you have to be in compliance with the School of Social Work GPA curriculum, be advised by your BSW and MSW advisors to be able to be successful in our program, not only the bachelor's, but the master's, and also the Title IV. Because I, base myself on the ability for the student to be in good standing. If once the student falls below the 2.7 or 3.0, then I definitely have to suspend their stipend. But with not, I know that Dr. Gonzalez, can tell you a little bit more about, anything that, we do to make sure the student is successful. I know that our advisors are really good in keeping in touch with each student to make sure that the plan of degree plan is followed. And we know that there's adversities and situations that happen, like right now. The COVID situation has obviously rendered us to be working from home, and our students are being online. And I know some of our students are having issues with, technology. Some students are not technology savvy. So we're kind of extending that assistance and help as well. And I know that Ms. Arredondo, who is the advisor at BSW, is keeping in contact with the students, and not only issues with their academia, but also situations that may happen at home right now. I know Ms. Noelia had mentioned, her background, knowing that, the adversities and situations and concerns that we as students go through. We also want to lend a hand to our students to make sure and reassuring that, their anxiety levels is acknowledged, and, what can we do for the student right now to make sure that, this semester is a successful one, even though, this current situation that's going on and the anxiety that everybody must be going through. We want to make sure and comfort our students and still continue guiding them. I know that there's a lot of questions and concerns that maybe Dr. Gonzalez can address, as he may have more information on that. But I know that me and Noelia, we work a lot with our students, even in our classes, our evening classes and day classes that we have students coming up to us in a personal level, and we can hinder their education. So we address those issues. We make sure that the student is actually referred to a counselor and or professional to deal with the current situation, to make sure that their studies can be smooth. So this is what I offer, and I know that it's not just a focus on the Title IV, but we go all around, because we do approach it as a holistic view, and we want to make sure that the student is healthy in all angles, at home, at school, at work, because I know that some of our students are currently dealing with unemployment right now. So those are also situations that we're currently tackling, and I know Ms. Arredondo might have more information on that because she's the advisor, and they are currently calling her right now. But Mr. Gonzalez, Dr. Gonzalez, do you have anything to add on that?
Well, just to kind of go back, just to start with the overview again.
Correct.
With at the School of Social Work, we have a bachelor's in social work program and a master's in social work program. The thing about our programs is they're professional. So students that are going to graduate from either program will then be able to sit for a licensing exam. So we're not, when students get into our program, they're not just getting a bachelor's, they're becoming a professional social worker. Okay, so it is rigorous, although we do want our students to succeed, as Sandra just talked about, when stuff does come up. Within social work, we look at everything about the students, a holistic approach, including the environment, with family, work, everything that might be a stressor. We do want to look at, and of course make the appropriate referrals for students that need that, again, for them to succeed. In some cases, particularly at the master's level, if there's something going on that they need to take care of, I always recommend to the students to take care of that first, then come back to us, because we're not rushing people to graduate. We want them to succeed, particularly those that are, once they get into our program and know what they're getting into. Again, a professional program, every class that they're taking within the program is essentially on-the-job training. So it's cumulative, they have to learn everything and remember everything. Because that eventually, when you do get onto the field, is what you're gonna be doing. Those skills that you learn, the knowledge that you learn, the values that you learn, all of those are applied when you then become a social worker in the field. You know, and as we know in the Valley, there's a real need, a big need for social workers. So the good thing is that a lot of students are interested in the program. So at the bachelor's level, I believe the students need a 2.7 GPA to get into the program. They need to have taken our intro class, and eventually we'll take a statistics class. Although they can substitute a statistics class if they take that somewhere else. There's, I think, besides the other part of the application, I believe, is an essay, and of course, like an unofficial transcript. So the admissions team, a few faculty members will review applications to then make a decision on who gets in. Now, those that for some reason aren't able to get in yet, and I say yet because we're not going to tell a student you're not in, no, not ever. We'll work with the student to help them if it's bringing up their GPA or if they missed something, so we can give them the recommendations to improve their application, so when they apply the next time, then they should be able to get in. We do admit 3 times a year, fall, spring, and summer. The bachelor's level, basically at the end of the program before you graduate, students do a field practicum. And it's a generalist, that's at the generalist level, meaning they know a little bit of everything to work with clients. It might be case management, a little bit of mental health, a little bit of substance abuse. They know a little bit of everything to be able to help clients. We have some affiliations with lots of different agencies across the Valley, including some with our School of Medicine with AHEC, and we're looking at expanding some of those practicum opportunities for internships. When you get to our master's program, that we have a macro and micro, or we have a direct practice with Latinos, families, and groups and individuals, and we have a community administration practice. So depending on which route a student wants to go, they can choose if they want to work with individuals and families, or if they want to work with organizations and communities. They can choose those concentrations. To get into that program, you need a minimum 3.0. And for students that get a bachelor's in social work, in their undergraduate course, core courses for social work, they need to average at least a 3.2. So what that does for students with a bachelor's in social work, they get into the advanced program, which means it's only 1 more year. We do accept students that do not have a bachelor's in social work, but they go into a longer program because of not having the BSW. So they would eventually do that coursework first, then get into the advanced coursework. Now that's a requirement of the Council on Social Work Education, which is our accrediting body. And again, both are professional programs. We want our students to succeed. I always tell students, okay, we accepted you to our program. Now you need to do the work so that we can help you finish up to go out and do social work in our communities.
One of the things that I'd like to add is I particularly teach the Intro to Social Work, which is a requirement for the BSW program. And one of the, or actually some of the things that we kind of tackle within that course is kind of exploring, is social work for you? So that's one of the primary questions that we have for our students once they enroll in that course. This Intro to Social Work it's a general course that provides information about what social workers do, where do social workers work at, and with what population do we work with. So it provides a lot of interesting information, and I take it very seriously in the sense that I always tell my students, it is very important for me to give you a clear understanding of what the profession requires, because it's not an easy profession. A lot of the times, you know, there's several misunderstandings about the requirements about what a social worker does. So we try to clarify all those questions within that course. And some of the things that we kind of see is, for example, a lot of the students, they want to become social workers because they want to give back in somehow. Maybe they've personally experienced troubling situations where they don't want others to go through that situation. So just like Ms. Stark had mentioned before, it also becomes trying to guide our students how they can actually personally make sure that they understand you know, their situation so they can best help themselves first in order for them to become that social work professional and help within those similar areas. We also talk, we also give a lot of information about the different populations that we work with. And one of the most common questions that I get is that they are concerned with not being able to emotionally handle the profession, because we see a lot of difficult situations. And one of the things that I like to stress to my students is that any profession can be very heart-taking. You know, when I mean, doctors, nurses, they see a lot of things that, you know, are very hard to take in. But I tell them, with patience and with time, we develop, you know, that understanding of those situations, and what keeps us moving forward is that passion to help and service our population. So those are some of the main goals for that course, and it is the main requirement to enter the BSW program.
Well, one of the things, as Nadia brought up with regard to the stressfulness of what social work can be, is that we also encourage self-care.
Mm-hmm.
And as Nadia basically put it, you know, when you fly and they talk to you about the oxygen mask, you're supposed to put the oxygen mask on first.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're not taking care of ourselves first, it's going to be hard to take care of others. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll stress that throughout our program. Self-care. If we can't do self-care, even with faculty, we have to do that also. Mm-hmm. So make them do social hours with me. Funny hats and funny masks and all. So
yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and one of the things, just let me say just one more thing. With for me, my career started started in substance abuse, but even in high school, I was a peer facilitator, not knowing that I wanted to be a social worker at the time, but I did like helping people, and it was nice to learn that, and ended up not knowing about social work. Got a degree in psychology and sociology because I couldn't decide which one. Ended up in substance abuse, and then found a master's program, and I learned from my colleagues, no, you want to be a social worker. And it's just been incredible to help people, help communities, and to learn how much we can do with the master's that I got, even with the bachelor's that I got. If you want to help people in any way, but you don't want to be a doctor or a nurse, we're the right place.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to add to Ms. Alonso is that, you know, we do expose our students. Me and Ms. Alonso do have event and coordinate events. As a Title IV-E, I do have to provide trainings for Child Protective Services. So these events target, yes, child welfare, but we also go out in the community and do events with other agencies, and where Ms. Alonso and I, you know, take our students because we want to expose them to different areas of social work, because social work is not just child welfare. Social work is very different. It's very diverse. We can go into hospitals, hospice, education, right now the human trafficking area with the DA. We can do a lot of things going on right now, and the most exposure that we do for our students, they're able to decide exactly what area fits them, because I know that Dr. Gonzalez and Noelia have mentioned, the stress level. Are they sure they can handle this job? It's helping the student use their strengths and potential to the best possible, area that they feel comfortable with. And, most of our students will be a little frightened to go out there and not sure if they're able to be the social worker. But we're here to guide them to make sure that, the tools that we have put place in theory, they can actually put them in practice. And these events help a lot of our students be exposed to, situations like we did the poverty simulation that we do in the spring. And it brings up to light a lot of our students, the struggles that our clients are going out in the community. And so we become more sensitive to how do we help, our client, our patient, and we can actually put ourselves in their shoes. So it makes the student aware that these struggles, even though they've never gone through these struggles or maybe have not encountered these struggles right now, but they're true current struggles. With the current situation of COVID right now, that our students will be going into field in the fall, they're going to see a lot of struggles out there, anxiety levels, people being laid off. So we try to prepare our students to make sure that they're ready to encounter these particular clients and patients and how to address these issues. And our events really solidify the possibility of encountering these types of situations. So I know that, when we go back and debrief our students, if they give us a positive feedback and let us know, I didn't know this was happening. I didn't know that I myself got emotional. We had a student, right, Ms. Noelia, this past poverty, she broke down because she didn't know, that her struggle and the decision, it was a mock kind of play that they did, that she was the wife and she had a boyfriend or had a husband and they had a baby and the husband wanted to sell the baby. Okay, that was just a mock play, but she broke down in the poverty simulation with this because she didn't know that how dare somebody sell her child, and the husband was like, well, we were getting money for it, so we were seeing her struggle. So we go back to these situations, and some people actually we encounter these situations that might happen. I know that we are a gateway for human trafficking, and we see this more often. I work with and partner up with the agencies with Human Traffic Task Force, just so I can also be aware of what's going on and also educate our students. And I bring them into our classroom because we do a lot of presenters. But all in all, we try to expose our students as much as possible into the community agencies, because social work is not just child welfare. And I know that Ms. Noelia and I have actually seen how students, they come back and say, wow, I didn't know this. I'm glad I went to this event. And they become more advocates. We do a lot of advocating. I know we do our little marches, and Ms. Noelia sometimes puts together, and we do the marches for, I know the last one that we did was for a no border wall. I think they were advocating for no border wall. So there's a lot of things, and I know we also go into Austin to show the different side of policy and legislative changes, and how that, it comes from the top, and how we can advocate and be a stronger voice for those that are not able to voice themselves. So in essence, we try to give a little bit of everything, so the student is aware that there's much more to social work, and being an advocate does not come right away. It comes with exposure. Yeah, we have our fears, but we have to go overpass that with our education and informed ourselves, so we can be able to voice and be able to advocate for the people that are needing for us to assist. Ms. Noelia, I don't know if you want to add anything else.
Yeah, just continuing with what you were mentioning, in order for us to expose our students to that generous social work area, we, just like Ms. Stark was mentioning, not only do we expose them to, for example, what a family is going through when they're struggling in poverty, we also have taken students to conferences where they're exposed to child abuse. We've also we also have been helping out in the community with the children in the foster care system. There's a lot of different speakers that we also, me and Ms. Stark also connect so that we can bring them into the classrooms, and we have that opportunity. We've also brought in, for example, like the Juvenile Justice Center, because we want the students to know that there is just a vast area of need for social workers, and we could help basically any population from children to adolescents, adults, and even our geriatrics. I also speak a lot about our geriatrics in our classrooms because I think that's one of our populations that we forget most of the time. And there's a lot of needs, you know, to help our elderly. So I know that like Ms. Stark has mentioned, that does give them a very good experience to knowing, am I truly, do I truly want to commit to this profession? Is this really what I want to do? And do I see myself, you know, doing this for the rest of, you know, for the rest of their life? And I can tell you that most of the time, 99% of the time, the students, you know, they struggle at the very beginning, trying to understand their own personal feelings and how do they connect with helping, you know, our clients, but they understand the importance of it, and they feel charged and ready to advocate to create that change, not only in individuals, but also within our community, because we also are very involved in the macro area. And we've had students as well. I want to be very honest. We have students as well. We've taken them, I don't know, Ms. Stark, I'm sure you remember, we've taken them to a child welfare conference, and there's two particular students. One student, she was ready to go. She's like, you know, this after I see, you know, how these children go through this abuse, I'm ready to go. I'm even upset of, you know, why do children have to go through these situations? And she was ready to charge and advocate. And then we have another student that took it a very different way, and she was she broke down. She was crying. And she said, you know, this is not for me. I don't see myself, you know, in this profession. And I said, you know, that's perfectly fine. That's actually one of the reasons why we like to have the students participate with us in a lot of these different areas, because we truly want, you know, the students to feel comfortable and committed, you know, to this profession. So I think we really strive, you know, to do that every semester. Right now, it's been a little bit difficult because of the change, you know, of COVID, but me and Ms. Stark have always tried to be very innovative. I know that we've also planned to have like a trauma webinar, I'm sorry, with the Children Advocacy Center. I know that's still in the works. There is a lot of different situations going on, but we're always trying to involve our students as much as possible to the exposure of the service that is required.
I am so excited that you guys have brought a different light and a different description of social work, because quite frankly, the view that a lot of us have, and I'm not speaking for anybody from the Region 1 instructional teams that are here, but we have this picture in our head of, let's face it, an older female with her hair in a bun, old school, her with all, you know, like dressed old fashioned with working walk shoes and a briefcase and a lot of files in their arms.
The media doesn't do us justice.
No, they don't. They're terrible.
We do more than just pick up the children.
Yes, yes. And honestly, if there was a way for you, all three of you or your whole team, to really channel this into like a marketing thing, which has nothing to do with why we're here today, I think it's necessary. But you know, to come back around to what we're actually talking about, you talked about a lot of the stressors that social workers have gone to, a lot of the assistance that you provide for your students. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us all a little bit about some of the self-help that you, as already, you know, experienced social workers, need to have? How do you carve out the time when you have your private lives and your work lives and your school, because I know some of you also work in the field assisting. So, you know, how do you balance that, and what kind of self-care do you have to do to kind of keep it together?
Well, Well, it's been a little hectic right now because of the whole changes, but before COVID, you try to have a routine, from X hour to X hour you work and then, you shut down. And then Ms. Noelia, I know she always criticizes me because I'm like a robot. I can work 24/7, right? But I have to have my downtime. And my downtime is just to travel, the beach time, a set aside time to really actually decompress and then regroup and go again. With the current changes of COVID, we can't go nowhere. So what I've done is I'll get up early in the morning and I'll go for 2-4 mile walk, and that kind of helps me to clear my mind and then reset and come back and do my work. Because yes, we have to be quarantined, but at the same time, I know Ms. Noelia is always making fun of me, but I'm an extrovert. So I have to have people contact. So if I call you, you better have time to talk to me,
Sometimes
but
too much.
yes.
I love that.
You better have time. So in essence is a connection, it's very important to be flexible and be available, to be able to continue that camaraderie within the colleagues. I think that I myself try to make sure that, I assist as much as I can. And I am the type of person that I need to learn to say no, because Noelia knows that if I bring out a task, guess who's helping me with the task? She is. So, yeah. So she's like, I'm only limiting you to sign us up to 2 big events every semester. So, yeah.
I love
So
that.
she puts limits on me, right? But I've learned to put limits because I do have a lot of events. And if I get a phone call and say, you know what, Mr. Hart, I have this event and this is about this, I'm like, when is this? And so I start signing it up. And then and my plan is, how am I going to convince Ms. Noelia to come on board with this? So I do have to set aside and say no and weigh myself, because not only do I handle Title 4E, I also teach my child welfare courses. Then I do these side events that sometimes, I help out with the other professors. So I do have a lot going on, but I like the involvement because I like to keep myself busy and learning new things, because I don't think social work is something that you just get stuck with what you're currently doing and not learn and go elsewhere, and I do have a lot of link with the community members out there that they want me to do presentations, and me and Noelia do go out there in the community, do presentations in the schools, high schools, and even, other agencies, because we're trying to also teach about social work and what it takes to be a social worker and do the recruitment, because we do some of the recruitment. So yes, so we do a lot of things like that, and in their little gaps, there'll be some little gaps where I can take a little breather, but the satisfaction of actually doing my work and seeing it come through in a different perspective, it's such a satisfying, job that, I'm hoping that before this semester begins, I can take a week off and actually relax. Although I'm gonna have to staycation because I can't go nowhere, So it just have to be creative and always keeping in contact with your colleagues that become friends and checking up on each other. Right now with COVID, we definitely, it's a must that you have to kind of check to see their mental well-being. And that's where I'm at, and that's what I do. And sometimes I tell Ms. Noelia, because Ms. Noelia is like, yeah, there you go on a rant. You always talk. But, I'm a talker. So if I am texting you and I am reaching out to you, just let me know you're okay, But that's what I do to kind of keep myself down, stable, and it's much so more because I felt the anxiety, and it's so negative right now out in the world, that we have to kind of like even do counseling with each other to debrief each other and process everything that's going on. And, we are very blessed to be able to do this remotely and still say, we have a job, and then we're able to work from home. But how about other people that are not having the same, blessings that we currently have? So we're trying to also help other communities members try to help those that are unfortunate. So we keep ourselves busy, but we're trying to keep ourselves also organized to give ourselves some downtime. And it's kind of hard sometimes when you're out there, but we have to know that we have, the best thing is to do is disconnect. And that for me was very hard in the beginning, but I'm learning to disconnect. I am learning, Noelia, to disconnect because it is hard for me to disconnect. Your turn.
Well, for me, I think two of the main things that I do is one, kind of what Ms. Stark said, knowing your limits and knowing how to say no. I limit her to 2 big events per semester. It's mainly because I've been there. I know that when the stress builds up, we want to tackle so many things because we have so much passion, for helping in so many areas. And like she mentioned, we're so involved in not only teaching, but, participating in a lot of different recruitment events, going out to the community and things like that. But we also have, to find a way how to balance that with our personal life. So I try to create a limit and just learn to kind of say no in that sense. And I also try so that my stress won't build up, not to wait too long to take that yearly vacation, but actually, every day take some time, and say after a certain 6 o'clock, that's it. I'm done for today. And what are some of the things that I like to do? And I kind of de-stress with watching funny movies, watching comedy. I'm a fan of that because I really like to bring in positive energy every day. And another thing that I do is mindfulness. I try to take at least 5 minutes for my day, center myself and saying, okay, so what are the things that I could be grateful for today? Because a lot of the times with our profession, there's so many things that people are lacking, people are missing, they're going through, and I need that helps me reflect back and say, okay, so, I'm not going through those situations. How can I help them? But I also, I need to be grateful for what I have. And that kind of keeps me very positive, through the day. And if I have something, how can I share that, with others? So those are some of the things that I try to do just to kind of balance out. And I do disconnect a little bit, at least in the weekends. I try to disconnect from Ms. Stark a little bit in the weekend, and I tell her call me back on Monday.
I love this.
She won't answer.
I won't answer.
Could be in a ditch somewhere and she won't answer.
Yeah, I tell her call me back on Monday, because we kind of balance each other out. She's an extrovert. I'm an introvert. So I tell her, I need a little bit of alone time. Just give me a little bit of alone time and I'll be okay. We'll be okay. And she's like, I could have passed out here and you never answered my call. I go, well, you never said it was an emergency. So I was like, so you'll be fine. I'll call you back on Monday. But, I really like to, I really love to work with her. And in that sense, I think we kind of balance, like I said, each other's personalities out. And we both have that same passion to help. We also help each other out. I know that when I was there at the office as well, I kind of take the counselor role and they go into, all our group go into my office and we kind of also talk with each other about our stressors. What do we go through? And for those of you, like students that are hearing, it's always very helpful to reach out to a friend. It's don't keep, what you have inside of you. Bottled up. It's just, it works wonders just to share it, with someone. And that's kind of what we do with each other as well. So we can help each other out.
I don't know what you're talking about with regard to stress. I just went to the beach, if you can see that.
I just saw that. I love that.
See, I'm at the beach, okay? I used to do stand-up comedy a long time ago. And when I got into my master's program, I made a deal with a professor to research humor and learned even more about stand-up and comedy, but also how to use humor, to laugh, like Noelia said, to watch a nice TV show, to watch a good comedy, to learn how, what I would call healthy humor, not unhealthy, where you're not going to laugh at somebody. You can laugh with people, but not laugh at people, which would be different. But as Sandra said earlier, to balance, you have work, but you also have to have a boundary. You have to turn it off. You have maybe a spiritual part, as Noelle talked about, mindfulness. You want to balance that. You want to go for a walk. You want to be with nature. You know, you want to sometimes, I think what's great, I wake up before my day starts and I can hear birds and without putting anything on. And it's like, it's like magical, you know, and given the times we're in now, I feel like I've done, it feels like I'm working more than I normally do. And I'm on Zoom like we are now, sometimes up to 6-7 hours a day. So I don't want to look at my computer, or I even can't.
Yeah.
Which is probably better to not, just to step away, you know. So it's knowing those boundaries. Part of my job also is to know what my faculty are doing so that they don't do too much. And the two that are presenting with me, or actually I'm presenting with them, I call them my rock stars. But I also have to limit, because sometimes they don't want to say no. And it's like, but we still need to have that balance, and we need to have those boundaries to take care of ourselves, whatever it might be. Again, if it's watching television, it's what I don't like right now with COVID is one of my stress relievers is actually going to the grocery store. But that's not such a great thing to do these days, you know, because of, you know, health or other things. So, you know, I got used to wearing a mask.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things that I've accepted, or at least my body's accepted it too. You know, and that's another part of balance. It's as we know, what we're calling a new normal, which is still not totally established, but hopefully will be in a year. How do we balance that? Okay, we've had faculty have to, in middle of March, oh, it's spring break. Not anymore. Let's get back to work because we're going to go online. Mm-hmm. And at least, and so everybody did great work. So I've been able to, I have to do another one soon, to have social hours on Zoom, to just take a break. You know, I remember one of the first or second faculty meetings we had on Zoom, it's like nobody wanted to leave the room. We were just talking about whatever, meeting was over, but it was social. And I recognized, okay, we need to do that again, because in the office, you get to be social, you get to go into offices, you get to visit, you know, and catch up with people and work, collaborate also, you know, to have that balance. But that was taken away from us because we really needed to stay at home, as we're doing now again. So how do we balance that? You know, to then still take care of ourselves, to like find humor in, we had a contest, one of our contests of the social hour was the background. So I'm now going to a different place. So now I'm at Salt Lake Barbecue, Driftwood, Texas.
Oh, that's a great place to go.
You know, yes, and it's just a wonderful, and you'll see my, let's see, well, that's my little friend back there, Panchito. I don't know where he's at these days, but he used to appear in different places across Texas. Again, just something humorous to do.
That sounds good. I have a question from the audience.
Yes.
It is from Mati Barrera Alaniz. It was mentioned that Title IV-E about receiving a stipend if the student works with CPS for a year. Do you have any internships or TA or RA positions within the same grant?
No, we don't. I strictly am the coordinator, and it's strictly for students that are interested in participating in the program. Child Protective Services used to have, they do have volunteers, but you would have to go to a different area a different person. And I think that's just a couple of hours to volunteer. And you will not do the same thing that my Title IV-E students do. You might be exposed differently, but I can give you a contact number if you can give me your email. Now, the only thing is right now, Child Protective Services is not going out in the field. They're at home. But once this clears, you as a student are able to do some volunteer hours in a different area, maybe doing presentations for CPS, maybe having some contact with the workers. And I don't know to what extent you're able to go out there and visit families. So I know that all our students in the program that apply to this Title IV-E, they go into the conservatorship area, which is a legal department where children have already been removed. And we're trying to work with families to try to place the children back with families if possible, or find a permanent care for the foster kids. That's the area that our students go into, and they interact a lot with their attorneys, judges. They do travel a lot, because I know that some of our students have traveled to New York, Chicago, because they have to go see the foster home that the child will be placed. So I know that there's a lot of neat stuff that happens in my Title IV-E, but you do have to be a social worker in our program to be able to do this. And no, I do not take RAs or TIs assistance right now, because
Okay.
my program does not permit it.
Okay, thank you for that. And we have another question.
Sure.
HRO 939. Do you have any advice for our participants on how they can introduce social work to students that they work with?
Want to take it, Noelia?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Ms. Lozano?
Of course, of course. Do you have any advice to share with the audience about how they, at their respective schools, can introduce social work as a potential health profession's career to their students?
Okay. Some of the topics that we mentioned in our PowerPoint presentation was, for example, to ask the students if they like to service, others. Most of the time, when we go out to career days, we always ask the students, do you participate, for example, in fundraisers? And do you like to, participate in events giving back to your community? If this is a question that they answer with a yes, then definitely, social work might be something of interest for them. Another question that we also bring up, to their awareness is, are they attentive, listeners? Because social work, we also have to learn to be very empathetic with our clients, to be understanding, and that takes a lot of attentive listening toward our clients. So one of the ways we kind of help them understand at their level is, do your friends go, to you for advice? Sometimes, a lot of the times, you always have that one person in that group that they tend to look forward to for advice. So if you're that type of person, that is always, has or fixing somebody else's problems, having, thinks that they have, good judgment, to give advice toward others, then that's also another thing to look forward to as a social worker. And the other, thing that we look at is, for example, also problem solving. Are you always trying to help people, with problems that they have? Those are some of the things that, we introduce them. Okay, great. There's the PowerPoint. So those are some of the three main things that we kind of engage the students with, so they can have a better understanding of what the profession is. So, and then we also do let them know that we not only help, individuals, but we also help, family as well, and groups. This particular, let me see. Okay, that particular slide is just kind of giving them more information about all the areas that we can work in, the different types of fields that we can practice in. So we give them also in the career days, for example, if they want to be in the medical setting, we ask them, how many of you are interested, in working in a hospital? And we give them examples of what a hospital social worker does, or a medical social worker. For our substance abuse treatment programs, some of the times the students will mention that they have family members struggling, with a particular situation similar to this. And we provide information of how, social workers also counsel, and, how they also provide case management and resources.
Let me know if you want to
Okay.
go back. It just dawned on me that I could share
Oh,
put your
PowerPoint.
presentation up. I'm so sorry. I thought about this late.
No, that's fine. So, so basically, I mean, those are the kind of the three main the three main topics that we start off with when we go do the career days. Because I know we've done it for elementary, middle school, and high school. And then just so that we can tailor them to their level of understanding. So it was, active listening, problem solvers, and do they like to service?
That sounds awesome. Ms. Stark, anything to add?
No.
Okay. All right, let me get out of this. Stop sharing. Are there any questions from the audience about anything you've heard? Maybe some of your own questions about social work, or have your students come up with? Oh, wait, we have another question in the chat from Alejandro Razo. What is the yearly average salary for a social worker?
Dr. Gonzalez.
I'll have it on the slide. Well,
Yeah, let me go back to that slide. Time out.
Well, I can say this. It should be more. I'll say that first.
Yeah.
At the bachelor's level, it's about 35,000 to 40. And at the master's level, they would start about 50,000. Again, should be higher. And for the work that we do, when people really understand what we do and how we contribute to helping people, you would then realize, wait, they should be paid more. So what I encourage our students to do is, once they graduate and get a job, is to negotiate as much as they can, but then to do great work, because the higher that they can start at the higher starting salary they can have, then that means that for the next social worker, they're going to start at a better salary. So those are some things that are important. Now, within the salary range, it also depends on the setting that a person works in. Sometimes within healthcare, there might be slightly higher salaries in other areas. So that's another thing for students to look at. So you might be paid very well to work at a nursing home or at a hospital, but you might be paid a little bit less, say, to work at a substance abuse agency, which you would think that should be about the same. And I'm not sure. I think like CPS in particular has a good rate, good starting salaries at both levels, I believe.
Yes.
So.
I just wanted to add really quick to that. One of the things that I explore with my students, because when they ask me that question in class, is to think, I know that it would be wonderful to have a high salary, at the same time really be passionate about your profession. Sometimes like Dr. Gonzalez says, for some reason or another, the pay is not there as we would want to, but I always,
as you deserve it.
Yeah, as we deserve it. But I always encourage my students to think about what they value, though. If you can have both, what would you rather value? Do you feel that you could live comfortably with that salary that is being provided, and would you enjoy going to work every day with that passion? Do you, because this is what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. So do you want to go to work to a job, or a position where, you fall in love every day with servicing, the population that you work with, rather than having all the money in the world and not being happy with what you're doing? So.
No, one of the things that can happen in a career for a social worker, particularly if they want to eventually be a clinical social worker. So they would go through our bachelor's program and then eventually the master's program and concentrate on micro or direct practice with individuals, families, and groups. Once they finish, pass the licensing exam and start working, they can then start doing the supervision and the hours to eventually test to become a licensed clinical social worker. Now, when you get that license, now your career can change and so can your salary. Okay, you can eventually do a Medicare number, eventually do private practice and be on insurance boards. I can tell you that I haven't looked recently, but the military loves social workers in civilian jobs at different bases. You know, I was looking with a student a few years back, and for LMSWs at the bases in San Antonio, their starting salary was $70,000.
Wow.
If they had an LCSW, then they went into six figures.
That sounds exciting.
So-
I'm so sorry
so-
to have to intervene, Dr. Gonzalez,
No.
but we have a minute left. And we
Yes.
have one last question, if you guys don't mind taking it from Joshua Flores. How can we best prepare forewarn students about the mental toll the social worker field has without scaring them or deterring them from that career? As quickly as you can and as you can in 45 seconds or less. Sorry, Josh.
Well, to be honest with them, to help them to know what they're getting into, but also to know how to take care of themselves. Both of those things are very important. That feeling you get when you do help people, okay, or actually when you do your best to help people and know you did it right, to me is very rewarding. It's a great thing. It's great when you also learn from the people that you did, that they were helped, that they appreciate it. I worked in substance abuse years ago, and I didn't always get to hear that. But that's that satisfaction of knowing you did your job the right way is something that's important to focus on.
Thank you for that.
So, and
Social
what you're
work,
contributing, and just what you're contributing to the community.
Joshua, I hope we answered your question. Social work, it was a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much for making the time. And Sandra, I'm glad that you've learned how to say no. And to Noelia. Dr. Gonzalez, it was a pleasure having you on board. And I just want to let Mati Barrera-Laniz know I'm already putting you in contact via email with Ms. Alonso, Ms. Stark. So Dr. Lettingham, I see you're back on.
Yes, I don't know if my connection's much better, but.
I'll be your backup. I'll turn things over to you.
All right. Well, we're going to roll straight in, and I'm glad these are recorded because I can go back and listen to all of that great information from